sometimes, a single misstep can spark a chain reaction that shakes an entire town. In Oakwood Springs, a seemingly innocent encounter between a local officer and a black woman sent shockwaves through the community, because the woman was no ordinary citizen. She was a highly trained federal operative conducting a covert investigation, and this arrest would become a defining moment for everyone involved. Buckle up, because once you learn the stunning details, you'll see how a moment of prejudice exposed a much bigger story no one saw coming. Late on a warm summer evening in Oakwood Springs, Officer Adam Blackwood roamed the deserted streets in his cruiser. Locals knew him as a man who believed in zero tolerance, but they also whispered about his heavy-handed tactics. Rumors hinted at past complaints filed by residents who claimed he profiled people based on appearance alone. While never proven, these stories cast a shadow over Blackwood's reputation. Around the corner from a shuttered electronics store, he spotted a lone car, headlights dimmed, parked at an awkward angle. Slowing down, he noticed a woman with deep brown skin behind the wheel. The suspicion flickered across his mind. What's she doing there so late? In his world, that single question was enough to justify an intervention. Inside the car sat Michelle Carter, scrolling through her phone, waiting for a friend who was late. She didn't expect her evening to become the center of a social media storm, nor did she anticipate facing an officer known for questionable stops. Her unplanned presence in that parking lot was about to change her life, and his, forever. When Blackwood approached Michelle's window, his posture radiated authority. He demanded to know why she was there, who she was waiting for, and whether she had any intention of leaving soon. Michelle calmly responded that she was waiting for a friend, nothing more. But her calm demeanor only stirred more suspicion in him. He'd handled countless stops where people fumbled nervously through explanations. Michelle, however, was too composed. He remembered the rumors swirling around. Local activists had accused him of targeting people unfairly, especially those from marginalized backgrounds. Rather than second-guess his approach, he leaned into it even harder. He asked for her driver's license in a gruff tone. The tension thickened when Michelle politely asked why she needed to hand over ID if she hadn't violated any law. Passers-by who overheard began taking out their phones, anticipating yet another Oakwood Springs incident. Blackwood felt his pride flare up. In his mind, any sign of hesitation was grounds for deeper suspicion. And so, with each passing second, the standoff became more charged. Unwilling to explain himself further, Blackwood ordered Michelle out of the car. She followed his instructions, her expression firm but steady. As he tried to pat her down, she raised her voice to state that this was an unlawful search. Bystanders recorded every word, capturing the tension and mounting frustration. At that moment, something in Blackwood snapped. He had no intention of backing down. And so, in a sharp, unceremonious move, he placed Michelle in handcuffs. The crowd gasped, phones held high. Michelle calmly said, "You're making a big mistake." The officer scoffed, certain that he was handling just another defiant individual. Little did he know, the woman he was arresting had a badge of her own, one that carried more authority than any small-town cop could imagine. Michelle Carter, in truth, was an undercover federal agent on the brink of cracking a major case. In an instant, Blackwood had put his entire career on the line, all because he believed his hunch trumped her rights. And the cameras were rolling, ready to share his actions with the entire world. The Oakwood Springs police station was usually calm during night shifts, but word of Blackwood's arrest spread like wildfire. Officers looked up from their desks as Michelle, still in handcuffs, was escorted past them. A few recognized her face, though they couldn't recall exactly from where. In hushed voices, they murmured rumors that she might not be an ordinary civilian. Whispers about her real identity floated among them, sending waves of anxiety and confusion across the department. When Captain Donovan, head of the precinct, learned of the arrest, he stormed into the holding area. One look at Michelle, and the flicker of recognition in his eyes, said it all. He demanded Blackwood remove her cuffs immediately. Shocked and unsure, Blackwood complied, a wave of confusion rolling over him. Only then did he discover who Michelle truly was. Facing Michelle without the buffer of his badge, Blackwood felt a surge of panic. He'd just arrested a federal officer, someone rumored to have a sterling track record for exposing illegal activity, including misconduct within law enforcement agencies. For a moment, the hush in the station felt like a storm about to break. Tension crackled in the air, and no one dared to speak. But the damage was done, and the fallout would be swift. News travels quickly in a digital age, and by sunrise, local reporters had already camped outside the station. They probed for details. Why was a federal agent arrested without cause? Was this a case of blatant profiling? Social media erupted with heated debates, fueling a public outcry. The hashtags #Justice for Michelle Carter and #Reform Oakwood Springs PD trended within hours. Internal Affairs, IA, swooped in, demanding to see body cam footage, witness statements, and any relevant documentation. They interviewed residents who had witnessed the arrest, many of whom claimed this wasn't the first time Officer Blackwood had stepped beyond legal boundaries. Suddenly, old controversies resurfaced, an unverified complaint about him conducting unwarranted searches on minority drivers, rumored hush-ups from supervisors, and a separate whisper that he'd once been caught falsifying a police report. Captain Donovan sat in crisis meetings all day, trying to limit the damage. But with every new revelation, the department looked more compromised. Was the Oakwood Springs PD fostering a culture of prejudice? Or was this just one rogue officer with a personal bias? The public wanted answers fast, and the media pressure only intensified. While the department scrambled, Michelle Carter had no time for personal outrage. She was in the middle of a high-stakes investigation into a formidable crime network that reached into multiple states. Her superiors had tasked her with infiltrating key players, building airtight cases, and coordinating raids to rescue trafficking victims. Every day counted, and any public hiccup could expose her identity, putting her life and her mission at grave risk. Back in her regional office, she provided a thorough report of the arrest. She noted every detail, from the moment Officer Blackwood asked for her ID to his quick decision to cuff her without just cause. Although she knew that filing a complaint might bring repercussions to her job, she also recognized her responsibility to confront abuses of power. For Michelle, standing silent was never an option. At the same time, rumors emerged hinting that Michelle's presence in Oakwood Springs wasn't just for the organized crime investigation. Whispers suggested she might have been looking into corruption within the local police force itself. Some believed Officer Blackwood's false arrest had unwittingly blown the cover off a deeper conspiracy. Whether or not those rumors held truth, one fact remained: Michelle Carter wasn't about to back down, no matter the obstacles. The Internal Affairs team summoned Officer Blackwood for a formal hearing, an event that felt more like a trial than an administrative review. Department heads, legal advisors, and even Michelle Carter herself sat in a small, sterile conference room. A hush fell as Blackwood entered, looking far less confident than usual. When asked to detail his reasons for the arrest, he stammered vague explanations about suspicious behavior. But as the hearing progressed, contradictions emerged. Bystander videos, combined with Michelle's account and body cam footage, painted a damning picture of bias and unjustified force. One official described it as a startling glimpse into systemic prejudice, a phrase that quickly leaked to the press. Michelle, invited to speak, never raised her voice. She delivered a clear, concise statement about the arrest, underscoring the fundamental rights that were violated. No one is above the law, including those who enforce it, she concluded. The room sat silent, the weight of her words pressing down on everyone. Meanwhile, the internet was ablaze with speculation. Anonymous sources claimed the Oakwood Springs PD had tried in the past to cover up certain officers' actions, adding fuel to an already raging fire. People questioned if Blackwood was just the tip of the iceberg. Calls for a broader investigation into the department grew louder by the day, threatening to drag more officers into the spotlight. In the weeks that followed, Oakwood Springs became a testing ground for accountability. Officer Blackwood, now suspended and facing possible legal action, watched helplessly as his reputation collapsed in the public eye. Many wondered if he regretted his choice that night, or if he still believed his own narrative. The department, under enormous pressure, announced new training protocols aimed at eliminating bias, though critics doubted a quick fix would solve a deep-rooted problem. Michelle Carter, for her part, returned to her undercover mission stronger than ever. The arrest served as a stark reminder of the institutional hurdles she aimed to dismantle, not just crime syndicates, but ingrained prejudice, too. Though she rarely spoke about her ordeal, it galvanized her resolve. She continued her investigations, determined to protect the vulnerable from exploitation, and equally committed to exposing corruption wherever it thrived. The echoes of that fateful night lingered in Oakwood Springs. Conversations about policing, race, and justice erupted at every diner, community meeting, and city council session. Local activists seized the moment to demand change, while residents grappled with a hard truth: if a federal agent could be wrongly arrested, what might happen to an ordinary person with no badge at all? Yet, this turbulence also carried a spark of hope. Community members, journalists, and even some officers recognized the chance for meaningful progress. The arrest of a single woman, a woman who turned out to be a federal operative, shattered illusions and forced a critical look at long-standing practices. In the end, the story remains unfinished. Will Oakwood Springs follow through on its pledges for reform, or will public attention fade, letting old habits resurface? One thing is certain: Michelle Carter's experience exposed deep fault lines in a flawed system, reminding everyone that real justice isn't achieved by turning a blind eye. Instead, it requires shining a light on uncomfortable truths, no matter how unsettling they might be. And so, viewers are left with a question that transcends Oakwood Springs: how many unspoken injustices remain hidden until someone dares to reveal them? The hope is that moments like these spark long-term change, inspiring everyone, from cops on the street to leaders in power, to think twice before letting prejudice decide anyone's fate. Be sure to stop by our channel for more great stories, and please don't forget to subscribe and like us.